The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious podcast. I'm your host, the original HBIC, Katie Boyd. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously. Oh yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. Hello, everybody. And over here to my far right, which at home, if you're watching, is on your left, Mr. Queefy McQueefersons, Matt Babine.
What the hell is that? Yes, Matt Babine will do.
Queefy McQueefersons?
Right.
Well, we have another Irish girl here, so I thought I would give you an Irish name.
Okay.
You know, because Boyd is Scottish-Irish
I
surname.
like Sullivan would be good.
No, I think Queefy McQueefersons is way
Okay.
better.
Oh.
Ring to it, you know?
Oh, it has a good ring to it? Oh,
Yeah,
thanks a
see,
lot.
I told
This
you.
is going to be a shit show, I can tell already. Everyone's going to team
We're
up
going to
on
team
me.
up on you. And in the middle is my good friend, my ride or die, owner of Threads of Hope, which we are going to talk about very deeply in this podcast, Erin O'Connor.
Hello. Thank you for having
Welcome,
me.
Erin.
Thank you for being here. It's a, you know, it's an experience. It's an
It is.
experience. But before we start, I want to introduce our first ever podcast sponsor, and that is Ayana and the ladies over at Prana, hair, skin, lash, and brow specialists. If you mention the Ambitchious podcast, you will get 20% off your first visit there. So you can reach out to her by emailing her at www.pranahairSkinandlash.com. She's been doing my lashes for over a decade. We love Ayana. We love Becca. Thank you for being sponsors of the Ambitchious podcast. And before we begin, I always love to remind you Ambitches out there to sign up for our free newsletter on www.kbmfc.com so you can get, you know, in line with everything that's going on KBMFC and Ambitchious related, whether it's sound healings or events. We have some masterminds coming up, some amazing retreats. So get on over there, get connected. And also one more reminder before we get the show on the road, don't be a pussy. Get on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review and a written review. You guys have no idea how amazing that is for us telling everybody in the world about the Ambitchious podcast and the Ambitchious movement. And anyone who goes over there on iTunes and gives a 5-star and a written review, not just a 5-star review, people, put a little effort into it. Tell us how much you love us, right?
Yes, especially me.
Oh, God, please leave that out.
I love getting good reviews from me because then it becomes my show.
I'm going to fist Queefy McQueeferson's asshole today before this day is over. But get on over there because you will get a $100 gift certificate to use towards anything KBMFC and Ambitchious related.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So this is really exciting because I'll just take it away.
Sure.
And then you can tell us all about yourself because this is going to be good. I've known Erin for probably over a decade.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And she actually came to me because she was auditioning for the Patriots cheerleading team.
Wow.
I was.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
That
a
was
good,
a time.
It was a
time.
it was a good time. I enjoyed myself. Let me tell you that much. But we have now evolved our relationship over the years. And about a year and a half ago, you came back to KBMFC. You signed up to do some business coaching with me.
Yes.
And then from the business coaching, you went into the Ambitchious mastermind that we do quarterly. And she has you've turned your whole entire life like upside down, around, inside out. It's been a feat.
Yeah.
So I really want to get down and dirty about talking about starting your own company and what actually comes along with that. Because I think, you know, for me, so many people come to me and they're like, Katie, you're so successful. I want you to help me start my own company. And before I even do anything like that with them, I want to make sure that they're ready for everything
That comes with it.
Yeah. Because it's not all unicorns and rainbows and, you know, balls in your chin.
Right.
Not that anyone wants balls on their chin.
I definitely don't. I'm all set. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm all set.
Yeah, you know, that's not your idea of a fun Saturday night.
No.
So tell us a little bit about your journey from trying out for the Patriots Cheerleaders and like what you do and then how you became
Sure.
Ambitchious.
Yes.
I like your t-shirt, by the way.
Oh, twinsies.
So twinning. We need to get Matt one
Yes.
that says I'm with Ambitchious and there's an arrow.
That would be great. I would wear that. I like that.
All right, we'll work on that after the podcast.
So yeah, I think it was 2009
my
was when I
God.
first came to train with Katie.
Right around Wicked Fit time.
It was right before that.
Ooh,
yeah.
geez.
Yeah. And I was a competitive dancer growing up, and for when I graduated high school, even through college and after that, dance was such a huge part of my life. And so this was something I'm like, oh, well, I want to do it. And this just seemed like a natural next step.
How old were you at that time?
I was 24.
Oh my God, a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so wild.
Thought I knew everything.
We all did when we were 24.
And I was doing some auditions and just, getting cut right away. And I'm like, I would leave. I'm like, my kicks are higher than hers. How am I getting cut? And I didn't get it. I went to high school with a friend who used to do pageants with you. And she had told me about you. So I went, and I remember the first day.
Oh God. Everyone always says this to me. I remember the first day I met you, and it's never like, and it was so delightful. It's always like, you raped and pillaged me.
So before we even got into the workout, you sat down and you said, okay, tell me what you eat in a day.
Oh.
And I remember telling you what I thought was good food. I'm like, well, I have oatmeal in the morning. You're like, okay, I like you're eating oatmeal, but it's like regular or like just the oats, right? And I'm like, no, it's the package.
You were like, it's the strawberry creams, motherfucker. And I was like, no, Erin, no.
And I went down and you were like, look at what you're eating. You're like, it's carb.
I'm like, this has just as much sugar as a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Why don't you just have a Snickers for breakfast? You'll be like way more happy.
That'd be great having Snickers for
So-
breakfast.
Oh my
That's
God,
good.
Matt's like Snickers for breakfast.
love
Yum.
that.
And so I, it was both Patriots and Celtics.
Yes.
So I got in shape and then was still, dancing, going to these auditions. And I never made either of the teams, but the closest I got, it was for one of the Patriots auditions.
Oh my God,
one of those
remember
years.
this.
I got to like the last cut before. And, I remember it was so fun at the time, and I'm glad I did it. It was a
Great experience.
But looking back at my mindset then, I would get cut, and instead of saying like, okay, not my year, or what can I work on?
Yes.
I literally left, and I'm like, her love handles are bigger than mine. How did she not get cut? And it was just not at the time. That's just where I was, and that's kind of the
But
environment.
none of us knew that wasn't healthy mindset.
Right.
That's how we were raised. That's how we grew up. And those were the people that we were, at the time, we were surrounding ourselves with. So we were like, oh, that's just normal to talk shit about another girl's body.
Right.
And to like beat the shit out of yourself internally.
Right. So
Not being ambitious. Yeah.
And so I think that was 2 years I was auditioning, and then finally after my last Celtics one, I remember I felt so good going into it, and I got cut right away. And I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore.
But
like,
you made it
can't.
really high up in the Patriots cuts.
Yeah, I did get pretty far.
Was that when we like literally like
we were
took
like
you?
in the you
remember
really took me and
I
molded me.
I remember I was spray tanning her.
Oh yeah.
And I have very large breasts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you didn't know, but I have huge hooters. And I just remember spray tanning you, and I was like, Erin, you have to pick your tits up. And you were like, okay. And then you just like lifted them, and you're like, oh, that's how you get like underneath your boobs. I'm like, duh. You look so good though.
Yeah, I felt good.
Yeah, but look at you now.
Good. Right.
You're gorgeous still to this day. And I think a lot of the things you probably learned back then, you probably still use a lot now, right? Like makeup and hair and different types of things.
Definitely.
So it wasn't all bad.
No, not at all. I wasn't doing it for the right reasons.
But thank God you did it, because we would have never known each other.
Right.
Totally.
Universe works.
Oh my gosh.
Works in ways.
It's so that's why anyone's like, I'm like, trust the universe, man.
Yeah.
For reasons like this, like we would never be working together now on this huge project that you've taken on.
Right.
And planning a wedding.
Right.
And working full time in a very high stress job.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the last year?
Yes, I can.
Fast forward.
So over the last, maybe 2-3 years, I'm really trying to think of, long term. My current job, I've been there 7 years, and not to go too into detail with it, but it's a very high stress, there's a huge emotional toll that comes with it.
Like Erin tells me shit, and I'm like, I'm depressed. Just from you telling me what you deal with on a daily basis.
I work with families who have lost someone to homicide, in all different forms of homicide. So, there's part of it that is just kind of, I'm used to it. It comes with
You have
the day to day,
right.
but then some days I leave and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's a lot. So, I was thinking long term, I don't want to just accept the fact that this is what I need to do for the next 40 years or, whenever I retire. Like I just felt I already started feeling jaded. I didn't want to have to face that.
And even if you keep this job for the rest of your career, to also have something else that sets your soul on fire.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what happens so much. People are just like, I'm going to work at the post office until, I retire. And then I'm going to, retire. And then I'm going to it's like, no, don't you want to do something that you enjoy or that you feel great about on the side? It doesn't have to be your main staple.
Yep.
But you could have something that makes you the money and you're helping people and then have something that sets your soul on fire.
Right.
And then
definitely balances where she is
God,
too, right?
yes.
So it's like, now I can focus on this,
right?
And I can go help a family in real need after losing a loved one or something like that. That's really.
And then Erin has such an incredible personal story with Threads of Hope.
Right.
So you're working full time. And you're like, oh my God, there's days where I love what I do, and there's days where I want to punch a baby. And then you're like, how do I also we always talk about your purpose and why you're truly here.
Yes.
And that's kind of where Threads of Hope came in.
Right.
Which we didn't know that was going to be called Threads of Hope at the time.
We didn't. It was Katie's brainchild.
Sometimes I think it's amazing how that works.
You texted me at 7 a.m. one day, and you were like, I got it.
I was probably taking a dump.
You told me you were.
I do my best thinking on the toilet. And I always keep my phone handy with the Lysol wipe because I'm like, oh my God, I have it. Eureka. It's like the cloud comes over the head. Yeah. So tell them about how this all came about and your whole story.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, in trying to think of what I wanted to do, a friend had introduced me to Poshmark, which is this app where you just, if you want to get rid of clothes or purses or even now I think it's household items, basically anything.
Yes.
You just take a picture of it, you put it on the app and people can buy it and it's just in between you
from all over the world.
Yeah. And so I started doing that with clothes I was getting rid of and it was fun. I liked packaging them up and I wrote little notes.
Me
and
too,
so
I love it.
It felt fun doing it. But I was selling a shirt for $4. I'm like,
right.
So much I can do with that. But,
absolutely.
But I remember at work one time, it was a really stressful day and I had just sold something, so I was wrapping it up. And someone said to me, they're like, you literally just calmed down while wrapping that and writing that note.
Wow.
Your energy just totally mellowed out.
Someone actually saw that shift. That's really freaking cool.
Awesome. And so I was like, all right, how can I make this something more?
Right.
And so I was like, all right, what if I just started my own? But there's already, Poshmark, but there's also there's ThreadUp. There's a million types of these things for, thrifting clothes or, swapping and stuff like that.
But none of them do what Threads of Hope does,
right?
Which is the beautiful part.
So when I came to Katie, I remember I was like, here's my idea. To be honest, tell me what you think of it. And I said, basically a Poshmark, but instead of just the money goes to whoever, 20%, or I think I said a portion, goes to a charity. And I remember you said, I love it. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that.
Because to me, giving back is so huge. And I think that especially with the millennials that are coming up, those are the ones that are really, truly using these apps more than other generations. They want to always feel like whatever they do has purpose behind it.
Right.
And I was like, the Poshmark thing is fun. And, for years I have my Poshmark. I've made thousands of dollars selling all this stuff that I don't use that is really high end. Right. That I'm like, I'm never going to use these pumps again, whatever. Yeah. And I'm saying to myself, wouldn't that feel good if you could give a percentage of the proceeds to whatever charity of your choice and then also make a little bit of money and then you make a little bit of money? That's amazing.
Right.
How cool is that?
Right.
Why has no one thought about this?
Pretty awesome.
Because Erin O'Connor had to come up with the idea.
And Erin actually picked Home for Little Wanderers as one of the first charities where I came from. That's where I was adopted.
That was the month of April.
Yep.
Yeah.
So keep going. So you came in, we talked.
Thank you, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, of course. And so I remember when I told you the idea and you said you loved it, I think I was like, oh, I actually have something here. I think just in my head, I was like, is this just a dumb idea that's not going anywhere? How am I going to create this company? I don't have a business degree. I started out college as a business major and I quit because I didn't want to do accounting.
Accounting sucks. Yeah, but that's why you just hire an accountant. Well, you didn't know, right?
Right. And so initially I wanted the the only chair, like 20% or whatever percent, to go to Alzheimer's research.
Yes.
That was,
which is very near and dear to your heart because your grandfather.
Right. So it's, my grandfather had it. I've had other relatives who've had that, and more even, it's awful seeing a patient go through that, but it's also really tough on the family who becomes the caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with my grandfather, I really saw that and the toll it takes on everyone. And like, it's in my family, so who knows? I could get affected by that, but that so that's where my head was. And I remember you said, "I think you're thinking too small."
That doesn't sound like me.
Basically, Alzheimer's is my story, but other people have relatives with breast cancer or ALS or
domestic violence, whatever,
anything like that. And so you were like, "What if you somehow shifted it?" And so I was like, all right, so what about every month we just change? And so even if, say, Alzheimer's was a focus for, say, January, if it doesn't really affect you, the next month really might. And it might pull you to want to shop and give the 20%.
Absolutely.
So 20% of every purchase goes to a charity.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think that what you're doing is really going to shift the world. And I think it's going to give other people permission to not only want to give back, but to have the actual cojones to step up and be like, I want to do something that matters. I want to leave a legacy, and I also want to help people. And how you chose, every month we're going to do a new charity. That also, as a businesswoman, talking to another businesswoman, that also gives you another reason to collaborate with peer groups.
Yes.
So if you are collaborating with the Home for Little Wanderers, you're meeting that whole crew of people.
Right.
And that whole crew of people, not everyone thinks you're a genius, but a big percentage is going to be like, this girl's amazing. She has something, and they're going to talk about you. And then if the next month is, domestic violence awareness, and you are with Rosie's Place or whatever.
Right.
It's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And that's why it's so important, like on the Ambitchious podcast, to have people like you on, because you're bringing your people on too that are going to listen. Right. And maybe it's going to help them.
Right.
So it's just unity consciousness, really, which is, we won't get into all that spiritual stuff, but that's huge, right? That's awesome. So we were doing this back and forth, the whole business stuff. So once or twice a month, right? We talk, we meet, and every time is different. Erin will come in one day and she'll be like, oh my God, I just had this amazing experience. We just shot with these models. They wore my clothes. We were taking pictures, by the
public garden.
In the public garden in Boston. And I'm like, yes. And then the next week Erin comes in and she's like, I feel like a bag of smashed assholes. Why did I ever say I would do this? And I was like, get it together. And that's when I slap her around, because I have been in business, as you know, for 20 years. I've had my ups, I've had my downs, I've been broke, I've been rich, I've been in all, right? And we have to always remember the big picture.
Yes.
And the long game and the people you're helping and the legacy that you're going to leave, because, so many people always, we talk about this all the time, they quit right before the miracle happens.
Right.
So I always tell people, when the cockpit of the fighter jet shakes and rattles the most, it's because you're going to break the sound barrier. Right. So you have to hold on and be like, okay, this really sucks right now, but I know I'm going to make it. And I think that every time we meet, it's like an ebb and a flow. Yep. It's never homeostatic.
No, never.
Right?
Never.
And then we have an ambitious mastermind with about 40 people from all over the globe. And every week, Erin checks in and she's like, this week was so amazing, and she's sitting on her couch and she's videoing herself. So we all know what's going on. And then there's weeks that you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is so difficult. And then all the masterminders will all help each other out and give each other ideas, which is, that's huge,
and
right?
What do your masterminders do, right? They always focus on purpose and service, right? So when your mind is in that space, you just become so much more creative, and you're getting all of that, help as well.
Yeah.
Oh no, what are we trying to do here? How are we going to make this move? And and they're purpose driven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is awesome.
And don't you think sometimes too, when you start a business, it's a very lonely process?
Very.
Right? Can you imagine, and not to toot my own horn, but I will, being alone during this? You probably wouldn't.
I probably would have stopped after a month.
Because so Erin was working with my trademark attorney. And she had to trademark her name. Tell them a little bit about this, because this is one of our
whole podcast.
Oh, absolutely! We should actually do a business podcast where we talk about this kind of stuff, because I think that more people need to hear It's a lot of work.
What had happened. Yeah.
You don't just roll up one day and you're like, yo, I own a business. I want this name.
Yeah. You can, but you'll be out of business.
Right.
Really quick too.
Yes. You will be out of business. Yes. 100%. So tell them about a little bit about that, because that was like one of our bones of contention during this whole thing.
So no, you had prepared me for how long it could take, because you had known, and you said, I had about 6 months in my head, and you were like, yeah, that's about it. But I remember I sent the first part for like the US PTO search. And so that came back really quick, like a couple weeks. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is great. Mm-mm. But then it was the big application I had to do and the price tag that came along with it.
Very expensive.
And I remember thinking like, I don't even know. No, the first search kind of gave an idea of anyone else out there with the name or similar and stuff like that. So this attorney did say, I think you're good to go. So I trusted him and his experience and everything. But I said, what if I'm paying this and like something's wrong with it and I have to do this all again?
Yep. And, which totally has happened to me.
Could happen. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so sent it, and I remember it was in working in a legal atmosphere.
Yes.
I know how people reach out to me and they're saying, oh, I just want an update. And I'm like, I will let you know when there's an update.
Calm your heel, sister.
But I saw myself on the other side of it. I'm like, have you heard anything yet? Like once a month I would check in. And so finally, I think it was after 8 or 9 months, it came in, but it wasn't the final. Mm-hmm. It was, okay, we're good, but we still need to do the additional filing.
Yes.
And it was, another couple $100 that came with it. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think in this whole thing, the financial part is the part that scares me the most.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty creative and I can figure stuff out.
Right.
But the financial part, that's just what was scary. The most scary.
It scares everybody.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, because you could go and try to buy a domain, like Ambitchious.com. Like I'm trying to buy it right now.
Yeah.
And the guy that owns it, like he will not get back to me. And then what happens is they try to like jerk you off in a corner so that you have to give them like $20,000 to, buy this domain. And I'm like, suck my balls. I ain't giving you that.
Well, that's like,
we don't want it anymore.
Right. I don't even care. So like, but with you, there's other places in the world called Threads of Hope, but they're in different classes.
Right. And so
that's an education in itself.
Right. Right. And so I remember I went to Frank Pereira, who's our website master.
A webmaster.
Yeah. Remember he told me, he said, make sure you get a domain. And this was all gibberish to me.
You're like, what does that mean?
What's a domain?
Oh my God, yes.
So I went and I looked at whatever website it was, and it said .com, threadsofhope.com was taken, but there were 4 other options, and one was .us.
Yes.
And I went with that one because that seemed the most familiar, I think. And so I was like, all right, I'll just do that one. And so I emailed him that, and he goes, threadsofhope.com is up for sale.
Yes, I remember this. Like, oh my God, I totally forgot.
I remember being like, how do you know? And so I went and I figured it out. Whoever had it was getting rid of it. And I remember being like,
for a price.
For a
large price.
But I remember being like, I was just going to settle for .us and .com. It just became available.
Yes.
So I took it as a scary sign, but a sign to go for it. So, but I had to buy the domain before the trademark was official. So it was all...
My stomach hurts right now. My stomach hurts right now.
It was. This was about 9 months of just anxiety.
And Erin would come in my office for our meetings, and she would be like, okay, here's what's up. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to use my witchcraft on you right now. I feel like this is good. I think we should do it. And she's like, you sure? And I'm like, yes, just do it. And it all ended up working out at the end.
It did. It worked out.
Awesome.
But again, can you imagine doing this by yourself?
I would not have bought that domain. I would not have. I have not have gone through all this. I would have been scared.
Katie Boyd's Misfit Club was all like me riding the baloney pony all by myself into the sunset. I think about that now and I'm like, how did I even do what I did with my companies?
Yeah.
It's so scary.
But even now, like with what I consider the more scary parts dealt with, I still face times when I'm like, the old Erin would have been like, nope, not doing this. Like I just went to do make my business account.
Yes.
And I went to the bank and I said, I have this very small savings account. Can you just switch it to a business account? And they're like, that's not how it works.
They're like, bitch, you smoking crack.
Why? I'm like, just
right. In your mind, you think this is so easy, but it's like, so technical.
Right. And I went and he said, okay, do you have your EIN number? And I was like, so I said, yes, I do. I was all proud.
Were you like so happy? You were like, yes, I do have my EIN.
And then he goes, okay, and how are you registered? And I went,
What does that mean?
I pull out my trademark information. I was like, is this what you want?
What did he say?
He was like, this is your trademark. I went, right.
I love this stuff.
He was really nice about it.
Right.
He's like, it's really easy. You just have to go register with the city.
Cool.
And I was like, no, I was right across from City Hall.
I work
right there. So I was like, all right. And he said, it's not as difficult as you think it is right now. Because I've been in City Hall. I get it. So filled out everything, went right up. The woman signed it within 5 minutes.
Wow.
She's like, you're registered. And so
one easy thing in your whole entire journey.
The one easy thing.
Wow.
So then I sent that off to the bank, and they're doing that as we speak.
So what are you doing right now with your company? So you're doing tons of push on all the different fundraising opportunities.
Yep. So as I said earlier, every month there's a new charity. So September is going to be Crowns of Courage.
Oh my gosh! Tell me about this.
It's kind of like Locks of Love.
Yes.
Basically, people donate their hair and they make these wigs.
Oh my gosh!
But they make them with this cap right here, so people can wear like hats on them or scarves and everything. And it's all for kids with cancer.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's September, and then October. It's an organization from Utah actually called A Winter's Gift, and they send recovery kits to women who just had mastectomies. And so I did that with the October being breast cancer awareness. I figured that was a good way to line up. In September is pediatric cancer awareness.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to try to line it up with something.
And you're making all of these incredible reach outs to all these wonderful organizations that would have never even knew that you exist. Right. And you probably didn't even know a lot of these places exist.
Nope.
Because Erin would come into our meetings and she'd be like, Katie, you got to hear about this thing. And I'm like, what is even this? And I'm pretty up to with philanthropic efforts, but this is blows my mind.
Well, when I started, I had, Alzheimer's Association or American Heart Association. Yes. And then it was no, we really got to get smaller to get it more personal. Mm-hmm.
And then you really, can grow.
Yeah, go from there. So, I've been doing some farmers markets and stuff like that to really try to get out there.
So freaking cool. Do you love to schlep? I schlepped for years.
I'm still schlepping.
Matt's still schlepping. I'm I can't schlep anymore. When I had Brunette Mafia, remember I had my clothing line Brunette Mafia? I used to schlep my shit all over the place.
I don't mind when I'm actually doing a farmer's market or
something.
So
fun.
It is
because you meet all those
fun
new
and
people.
You're just out there and I'm this is why I'm doing it. It's that behind the scenes where I'm what the hell?
Yes.
My fiance, God love him, he's why are there more boxes of clothes over here? What is happening?
I used to be on the phone with Erin. I'd be like, what are you doing right now? And she's like, I'm steaming clothes on a mannequin right now. I'm like, you are freaking amazing. And and just so you guys know out there in Ambitchious land, she is the epitome of being ambitious. Really you are. I feel like I'm going to cry right now because we've been through so much together and such a journey. And this is so incredible. You really, truly are, because you've done it all on your own. Well, obviously, you've had help.
I've had some help.
But, no one was schlepping. Right. No one's steaming your shit. No one's going through, bags of clothes with, stains on them and stuff. Erin's oh, my God, this shirt. Oh, this shirt's not cute. It has a fucking spaghetti stain from Ralphie's on it from, 1989.
Was that my shirt?
Probably was. Probably was, honestly, to tell you the truth.
I was trying to give to a good cause, but I got to keep that sauce off my clothes.
Oh, my God, I'm going to starve you for a week. So tell us, what's the next adventure in your life with other than getting married, because that's so exciting, but the next step with Threads of Hope?
So, I have for the next 6 months, I have collaborations lined up.
So cool.
And that's sometimes especially in the beginning, it would be, February 25th. And I'm like, oh crap.
Yes.
Who
I got to get it together.
So I have a lot of that lined up. These organizations are they're getting better at, sharing my posts and really promoting it on their end to really bring it. I think they're noticing that the more
it has to be collaboration, because it's then you're just showing that and they're not helping you. And it's that's not a collaboration. It's called a quid pro quo, madame. Right. Which is hard because a lot of these, not to knock fundraising efforts and philanthropic efforts, but they're not from the social media world.
Right.
They're okay, they're raising funds, but they don't understand the marketing and the social media aspect as much as we do because of all of our masterminding and stuff like that.
Right. And so a lot of my work has been a lot of Boston organizations, but Crowns of Courage is from Arizona.
Yes.
And Winter's Gift is Utah. I worked with one from Portland, Oregon. So it's
so freaking cool.
I think I'm slowly kind of getting out there, other cities, other states, getting them to know about it, and then hopefully to grow.
So tell people out there in Ambitchious land how it all works. They go on your website.
So you go on the website. There's women's, men's, and kids clothes. You just click on the tab, and everything comes up. So it has the picture, of everything. It lists the size, the brand, because if you're like me, different brands kind of fit you differently.
Absolutely.
So size, brand, and the price, everything is less than it would be if you bought it at the store.
Absolutely.
And so you just put everything in your cart and
check out,
and with less than a week,
you get all your
doorstep.
clothes.
Yep.
Oh my God. And it's
www.threadsofhope.com. And it's spelled exactly how it sounds.
Yes. And then 20% of everything that is sold
goes to the highlighted charity of that month. So in September, it'll be all to Crowns of Courage, and they get the donation at the end of the month.
Wow.
And so, everything will go to.
What's your hope for your company going forward?
I mean, I hope to be able to collaborate with I love working with small groups, but, to work with even bigger ones and really get out there and help as many people as possible.
I see your whole entire company going global, and I actually see it like becoming as big as Poshmark, if not bigger, because of the philanthropic effort behind it.
Yeah.
That's my hope. I'm putting it out there to the universe right now. I know that you feel the same way. This is so incredible.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Do you have any advice for anyone out there in Ambitchious land that's kind of like maybe sitting on a dream or a hope what would you give them as advice?
I can't do it is not an excuse. You can do it. And I don't mean to say excuse as in, oh, this is why I'm not doing it.
Right.
But don't limit yourself. I mean, I don't have a business degree, and I started here. If you told me a year and a half ago I'd be here doing this, I would have thought you were nuts. So
awesome. You have a business degree now.
I did.
Yeah,
in real life.
School of Hard Knocks. The School of Hard Knocks.
In real life, which is awesome.
I know a lot of people that have business degrees and do nothing with their business degrees, and I know that people literally didn't graduate high school that are like multimillionaires. Yeah. So I actually trust people who are doing it and not just saying it. You know,
don't limit yourself. You have everything you need.
I love this. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
It means the world
to
me.
Work.
So go check out Erin at threadsofhope.com. Buy some clothes. Give it to an amazing charity. Thank you, all of you, for being crusaders to this ambitious movement. And like I always say, see you next Tuesday.
Good job, ladies.
Oh my God. That was awesome.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.